Okay, so let's switch gears. Let's talk about politics. And of course, we can't have a conversation about politics without bringing in our very own WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay. She's there smiling at me because I'm just going to throw a bunch at her right now, and she is going to do a great job just responding and reacting. That's what I always do when we talk about politics.
I know, I'm scared.
Don't be scared. Well, let me set it up. It's a busy day at the Capitol.
Yeah.
A North Carolina legislator today successfully passed multiple veto override votes, turning bills rejected by Democrat Governor Josh Stein into law. So let's slow walk it. What bill do you want to start with first?
So they're attempting,
I always throw out the bills.
Thank you. Instead of just throwing something at me. Just kind of an overall picture of today.
Go ahead. Yeah.
They're back after their summer break briefly, and they're trying to override all 14 of Governor Stein's vetoes. So there's a big plate today, at the same time as the fact that they don't have a budget and the Senate race is going on. So it's just a busy day in Raleigh in general. But we're kind of narrowing in on some of the topics I think are most notable to our viewers. So I think let's start with gun laws, because I just wrote that script. And so it's top of mind for me. And again, this is all actively happening right now. House and Senate are in session. I believe House in full session right now, still discussing these. House is taking a little bit longer. Of course, there's more of them. But when we talk about gun laws, two really big ones. Let's start with Senate Bill 50. That one we're still waiting for the House to vote on. I don't know that it has the support that it needs because it's a really big change. This would be the permitless carry. So any concealed carry trainings, documentation really, that would go away. So you'd now be able to, if it passes the House, this override, which we'll see, that would be a huge change to gun laws in the state. The Senate actually passed all of the vetoes they had on their agenda, except for ones that the House hadn't sent back to them yet. They passed theirs really quick. So the Senate is pretty much on board with all of these. It's really the House that's holding out. That's a big one. However, the House both parties have passed, and now this is law, a change to private schools, guns in private schools. You can now, whether a teacher, a parent, a volunteer, private schools can allow them to have a gun on campus. That is specifically for, I know, interesting, specifically for schools that, maybe don't want to pay for an SRO or a school resource officer. You can just have a parent, a volunteer, even a teacher, volunteer to have a gun to protect the students. So that's really interesting. Of course, that discussion went back and forth, and representatives from our area spoke on that multiple times. Representative Laura Budd, she's a Democrat from Mecklenburg County, said, I don't doubt the heart and the good intentions of a dad who may want to come in and protect the school and be there before law enforcement. I do doubt maybe the training or the ability to work in those situations. Police obviously go through a lot of training, so do SROs, and so to have someone with a loaded gun on a school campus, even if it's a private school, and that's a choice that those students and parents can make, that's a really loaded conversation. So she was obviously in opposition. Meanwhile, Representative McNeely from Iredell County said a lot of these schools don't want to pay for SROs or cannot afford it. Even if the tuition is high, they're still funding their operations pretty much entirely, except for some other outside sources. But that's a lot of money to spend when there's someone else who maybe volunteers to do it on their own. So that's really interesting.
So the argument is, how can we cut costs? I mean, if you're for this, Yes.
So that's a really interesting one. That's less, I think, wide-reaching in its impacts, but still really interesting. Of course, the biggest gun law we're going to watch is that permitless carry.
Right. What else do we have on the veto list?
Immigration.
Immigration. Okay, I had the list right here, and then page refresh. So immigration. Let's talk about that.
Oh, I'm scared about the page refreshing because I hope that doesn't mean something happened.
No. It's just on me, strictly on me.
Which is possible. Let's talk about immigration. Okay. Two especially big ones that do very similar things: a House bill and a Senate bill. The House bill 318 that we have talked about repeatedly, that has passed. So now that is going to be law, or I believe it's overridden, not passed. So that one is the one that requires local sheriffs, local government to work more closely with ICE in their federal mass deportation effort. It also requires them to hold people that have, questionable documentation in, for example, Mecklenburg County Detention Center for 48 hours passed, so that gives ICE time to come get them if that's what they decide to do. So that's a very divisive bill for
Sheriff
sure.
McFadden has been very much outspoken when it comes to this.
Very vocally against this, especially because Sheriff McFadden and Mecklenburg County was one of the reasons that Destin Hall, our House Speaker, said he wanted to introduce this legislation, accusing McFadden of not cooperating properly with ICE. Of course, McFadden has completely said that's not the case. It's just not within the law for them to require certain things. And then he also says this legislation actually doesn't fix that. So there's some like legal loopholes that there's still disagreements about. So it's going to be really interesting. Of course, people on the other side, resource groups, nonprofits, a lot of them saying this is a slippery slope because they're concerned about due process. You can do this under this legislation for someone who's been charged with something, not convicted of. So that is kind of the debate here.
It's one of those sticky. I mean, a lot of these bills are very much divisive. Sort of topics and not just topics here in North Carolina, but nationwide, frankly.
Of course.
You're tracking DEI, right? I mean, we don't have a lot on that, but you're tracking that right now.
That one is interestingly taking up quite a bit longer.
Okay.
I think because those bills, multiple of them originated in the Senate and the House just hasn't gotten to it yet.
Okay.
The House is taking a lot longer today. I'm not sure whether that means they do or don't have the votes, but there's actually a trio of bills related to DEI that we're watching. So one of them would relate to government employees. You can't use DEI or diversity, equity, inclusion hiring practices when we're talking state employees. So that's one of them. And the other two relate to schools. One of them for K through 12 public schools, another for higher education. And that would not just be hiring practices, it would be training for teachers. It would be not just curriculum, but even discussions about DEI. So that would be really interesting to see in practice. Regardless of how people feel about it, I think the kind of wiggle room for interpretation is going to, if the override goes through, is going to cause schools to be even extra cautious.
Yeah.
So some things we've seen about that is, how will race be taught? How will discussions about history be taught? We don't know what that looks like yet. So that's going to be really interesting to watch.
And I do have to point out, you mentioned this earlier, but Governor Stein had a press conference this morning. He said, hey, guys, we still don't have a state budget.
Yeah.
And in the midst of all of this, we don't have a state budget at all. So
we don't have a budget. Not that that was possible really to do today.
Yeah.
Everything else on the calendar. But yeah, that is kind of the overarching concern of this whole legislative session. Not shocking, unfortunately, for North Carolina that hasn't happened yet. But we haven't even seen a mini budget pass to get us through. So I'm curious to see how long that's going to take. But he mentioned, we're talking teacher pay, state employee pay, DMV, for example, everyone back up at the DMV. He said getting a state budget that works for everyone, that can fix some of these immediate problems we're having right now.
Ooh, Julie K, a lot happening. You got to catch your breath at some point. Again, stuff is still in session. You said the House is still in session right now. There's still stuff going on. So I'm going to let you go so you can get to work.
If I have to.
Julie K, following all things politics here in North and South Carolina. Julie, thank you for your time. Hopefully you get a lunch break or something.
You know what? I'm going to go do that right now that you've said that.
There you go. Look at us influencing good influences here in the Live Impact studio. Julie K for us. Before I let you go, when can folks check out your story this evening?
4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6. Julie K. If you don't catch her on air, you can catch her on our website and on our YouTube page and all our digital platforms.
But you should just be keeping us on.
Or just keep WCNC
4, 5,
Plus.
and 6.
Yeah, you should just never stop watching it. Keep watching it.
Just keep
all the
us
time.
on. Just keep us on.
Come on, guys.
I mean, Julie's on every show, so there you go, guys.
Watch.
All right, thank you, Julie.